The gym bag shouldn't have been there. I stared at the screen of my laptop, watching my wife Lauren's live-streamed sunrise yoga session, and there it was, a black leather gym bag with silver trim sitting in the corner of what was supposed to be our guest bedroom, Chase Morgan's gym bag. I'd seen it enough times at Iron Core Fitness to recognize the custom monogramming. My name is Eli Sanderson, and I'm a construction project manager in Millbrook, Maine. At 38, I've built half the commercial buildings in this gossipy little town, but apparently I couldn't build a marriage strong enough to keep my wife from streaming her workouts with another man's equipment in the background. "Good morning, fitness family," Lauren chirped at her phone camera, her perfectly toned body moving through poses that would make a pretzel jealous. "Remember, consistency is key to transformation." Transformation. Right. The only thing transforming here was my understanding of my marriage. I closed the laptop and walked to the kitchen, where Lauren was already preparing her post-workout protein shake. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a ponytail that probably cost more than my work boots, and she had that glow that comes from either intense exercise or intense guilt. "Great session this morning," I said, leaning against the counter, though I noticed some interesting equipment in the background. Lauren's hand paused for just a fraction of a second as she reached for the blender. "What do you mean?" "Chase's gym bag, the one with his initials. Kind of hard to miss." She laughed, but it sounded like breaking glass. "Oh, that old thing? He left it here after our training consultation yesterday. I completely forgot about it." Training consultation. At 6 a.m, in our house. While I was supposedly at the job site, except yesterday was Sunday, and I'd been at Ricky's watching the game. "Right," I said. "Training consultation." Lauren turned to face me fully, and I saw something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Not guilt, not embarrassment, contempt. "You know what, Eli? Even if it wasn't just a consultation, what would you do about it? Look at yourself. Look at me. When's the last time you could even keep up with me during a workout?" The words hit like a sledgehammer to the chest. "Excuse me?" "You heard me. Don't work out with me. You're too fat. You're embarrassing. Chase says..." She stopped herself, but the damage was done. "Chase says what?" "Nothing. Forget it." But I wouldn't forget it. Couldn't forget it. The woman I'd married 8 years ago, the woman I'd bought this Victorian house for, the woman I'd supported through her fitness instructor certification, had just called me too fat to be seen with her. "Fine," I said quietly. "Have it your way." Something in my tone made her look at me sharply, but I was already walking toward the door. "Where are you going?" "To work. Some of us have real jobs." I grabbed my keys and headed out, but not to the construction site. Instead, I drove to Millbrook Community Center, where Monica Reeves taught her morning fitness classes. Monica was everything Lauren wasn't: genuine, encouraging, and she didn't care if you couldn't touch your toes on day one. Monica was Lauren's biggest rival in the local fitness scene, which made my decision to walk into her class that much sweeter. "Well, well," Monica said as I approached the front desk. She was a few years older than Lauren, with auburn hair and laugh lines that spoke of actual joy rather than Instagram-filtered happiness. "Eli Sanderson, what brings you to my humble gym?" "My wife thinks I'm too fat to work out with her. Figured I'd get a second opinion." Monica's eyebrows shot up. "Lauren said that?" "Among other things." She studied my face for a moment, then grinned. "Well, she's an idiot. You ready to show her what she's missing?" That was 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks of morning workouts, of actually enjoying exercise again, of remembering that fitness was supposed to be fun. Monica had a way of making everyone in her classes feel like champions, even when they were struggling through their first push-up. And Lauren had noticed. I was loading equipment into my truck after Monica's Thursday morning class when Lauren's BMW pulled into the community center parking lot. She got out wearing her most expensive workout gear, the kind that cost more than most people's car payments, and marched toward us like she was heading into battle. "Eli," she called out, her voice carrying across the parking lot. "We need to talk." Monica, who was helping me load a set of resistance bands, straightened up. "Morning, Lauren. Nice of you to visit the competition." "I'm not here for you," Lauren snapped. "I'm here for my husband." "Your husband seems to be doing just fine without you," Monica replied calmly. I watched this exchange with growing fascination. Lauren's face was turning red, and not from exertion. "Eli, get in the car. Now." "I don't think so," I said. "Monica and I were just discussing the upcoming 5K fun run. I'm thinking of entering." "You? In a race?" Lauren's laugh was sharp and cruel. Eli, be realistic. You can barely make it up our stairs without getting winded. Funny, Monica interjected. He just finished a 45-minute class without breaking a sweat. Maybe the problem isn't his fitness level. Lauren's eyes narrowed. Maybe the problem is people who don't know when to mind their own business. Maybe the problem, I said, stepping between them, is wives who think their husbands are too embarrassing to be seen with. The parking lot had gotten very quiet. A few other people from Monica's class had stopped to watch, and I could see Mrs. Henderson from down the street pretending to organize her purse while obviously listening to every word. Lauren realized she had an audience. Her expression shifted, trying to reclaim some dignity. This is ridiculous. Eli, we're going home. No, I said. We're not. I'm going to grab coffee with Monica and discuss training plans. You're going to go home and figure out what you want to tell Chase about why his gym bag is still in our guest room. The color drained from Lauren's face. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the fact that I know Lauren. I've known for weeks. The only question now is what I'm going to do about it. She opened her mouth to say something, then closed it. For the first time in months, Lauren Sanderson was speechless. Come on, Monica, I said. Coffee's on me. As we walked toward my truck, I heard Lauren's car door slam behind us, but I didn't look back. I was done looking back. Coffee with Monica turned into a 3-hour conversation that changed everything. We sat in Millbrook's only decent cafe, and for the first time in months, I felt like I was talking to someone who actually listened. How long have you known? Monica asked, stirring her latte. Suspected for about 2 months. Confirmed it 3 weeks ago when I saw his bag in her live stream. But honestly, part of me knew something was wrong way before that. What gave it away? I thought about it. The way she started looking at me. Like I was something stuck to her shoe. And the phone calls. Always stepping outside, always deleting messages. Plus, she started working out at Iron Core instead of the community center. Said she needed more advanced equipment. Monica snorted. More advanced equipment. Right. Chase's gym is all flash and no substance. Half his machines don't even work properly. You know him well? Unfortunately, yes. He tried to poach my clients last year, spreading rumors that I wasn't properly certified. Turns out he was the one with fake credentials. She leaned forward. Eli, I'm going to tell you something, but you have to promise not to do anything stupid with this information. Define stupid. Murder, arson, anything that would get you arrested. I can work with those parameters. Monica smiled grimly. Chase's gym is in financial trouble. Has been for months. Word is he's been taking private donations from wealthy clients to keep the doors open. Private donations? The kind that come with benefits, if you know what I mean. Your wife might not be his only side project. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. Not jealousy. I was past that. This was something else. Something calculating. Monica, how would you feel about helping me prove that? Depends on what you have in mind. Nothing illegal, nothing violent, just educational. She studied my face for a long moment. What do you need? That's how I found myself parked outside Iron Core Fitness at 10 o'clock that night with my best friend, Ricky Torino. Ricky was an ex-cop who now ran his own security company, which meant he had access to all sorts of interesting information and equipment. This is either brilliant or insane, Ricky said, adjusting the telephoto lens on his camera. I'm leaning toward insane. Sometimes insane is what works. We'd been watching for an hour when Lauren's BMW pulled into the parking lot. She got out wearing a trench coat over what looked like expensive lingerie. My stomach turned, but I kept the camera steady. Jesus, Eli, I'm sorry, man. Don't be sorry. Be thorough. Lauren walked to the gym's side entrance and used a key to let herself in. A key to her lover's business, while married to me. How long do we wait? Ricky asked. As long as it takes. It took 2 hours. When Lauren finally emerged, her hair was disheveled and her coat was buttoned wrong. She looked around the parking lot nervously before getting in her car and driving away. You get everything? Ricky nodded. Timestamps, license plates, the works. What's the plan now? Now we start building a case. The next morning, I called in sick to work for the first time in 3 years. Instead of going to the job site, I went to see Carla Voss, the toughest divorce attorney in 3 counties. Carla had handled my cousin's messy divorce 2 years earlier, and she had a reputation for leaving no stone unturned. Eli Sanderson, she said, gesturing for me to sit in her downtown office. I heard you might be needing my services. Word travels fast in this town. Faster when it involves Lauren Sanderson and Chase Morgan. Half the town's been waiting for this shoe to drop. That stopped me cold. Half the town knows? Honey, they've been about as subtle as a house fire. The only person who didn't know was you, and that's only because you're too decent to assume the worst about people. Carla opened a file folder that was already surprisingly thick. I took the liberty of doing some preliminary research after your cousin mentioned you might be calling. Want to know what I found? I nodded. Your wife has been funneling money from the community center's fitness program into Chase's gym. Small amounts, but consistent. She's also been using your joint credit card to pay for hotel rooms, expensive dinners, and what I can only assume are gifts for her boyfriend. How much are we talking about? About $15,000 over the past 6 months. Plus, she's been forging your signature on some financial documents. The room seemed to tilt. Forging my signature? Loan applications mostly. Looks like Chase's financial troubles are worse than anyone thought, and your wife has been trying to help him out using your credit. I sat back in my chair, processing this information. It was worse than I'd imagined. Carla, what are my options? Well, the adultery gives us grounds for divorce, obviously. The financial fraud gives us grounds for criminal charges if you want to go that route. And the fact that she's been doing this while you've been supporting her lifestyle? That gives us grounds to take her for everything she's worth. What do you recommend? Carla smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. I recommend we make this very, very expensive for her. That afternoon, I met Monica at the community center for what had become our regular training session. But today, we had a different kind of workout planned. I've been thinking about what you told me yesterday, Monica said as we stretched. About Chase's financial problems. What about them? I think I know how to prove it. And how to prove your wife's involvement. She pulled out her phone and showed me a screenshot of a social media post. It was from Chase's Instagram account, showing off expensive new gym equipment. Look at the date on this post. Then look at this. She swiped to another screenshot, a bank deposit slip. One of my clients works at First National. She said Lauren made a cash deposit to Chase's business account the same day he posted about the new equipment. How much? $5,000, cash. I stared at the phone. Where would Lauren get $5,000 in cash? Good question. Want to find out? That evening, I did something I'd never done in 8 years of marriage. I searched through Lauren's personal belongings. What I found made my blood run cold. Hidden in her jewelry box, underneath a layer of expensive necklaces I'd bought her for various anniversaries, was a small notebook, the kind accountants use for keeping track of expenses. Every page was filled with Lauren's neat handwriting, documenting money transfers, dates, and what looked like business expenses. But these weren't her business expenses. They were Chase's. Gym rent, $2,000, transferred from joint checking. Equipment lease, $1,500, cash from jewelry sale. Insurance payment, $800, used Eli's credit card. The list went on for pages. Months of financial support, all documented in her own handwriting. At the bottom of the last page, she'd written something that made my hands shake. Total invested in CM Fitness, LLC, $23,400. Eli doesn't suspect anything. After divorce, we'll own 50% of gym business. I took photos of every page with my phone, then carefully put everything back exactly as I'd found it. Lauren thought she was planning for her future. What she'd actually done was hand me everything I needed to destroy her. My phone buzzed with a text message. It was from Monica. Tomorrow's the 5K registration deadline. You still in? I typed back, absolutely. Time to show this town what I'm made of. But the 5K wasn't really about running. It was about making a statement, and I had a feeling that by race day, Lauren was going to get a lot more than she bargained for. The Millbrook Community 5K was the social event of the fall. Half the town turned out either to run or to watch, and the local newspaper always covered it like it was the Boston Marathon. This year, they were going to get a story they'd never forget. I stood at the registration table, pinning my number to my shirt, when I heard Lauren's voice behind me. Eli, what are you doing here? I turned around to find her standing with Chase, both of them in matching Iron Core fitness gear. They looked like a fitness magazine cover, all perfect teeth and sculpted muscles. The sight should have made me angry, but instead, I felt oddly calm. I'm running the 5K, same as you. Chase stepped forward, and I got my first close look at the man who'd been sleeping with my wife. He was everything I wasn't: tall, lean, with the kind of tan that comes from spending more time in tanning beds than actual sunlight. His smile was the kind that sold protein powder and false promises. Eli, right? Lawrence mentioned you. Good for you, man. Getting out there and trying to get in shape. Thanks. Good for you, too. Getting out there and trying to steal other men's wives. The smile faltered for just a second. What did you say? I said it's a beautiful day for a run. Isn't that what I said, Monica? Monica appeared at my elbow, wearing her community center coaching shirt and a grin that could cut glass. That's exactly what you said. Hi, Lauren. Chase, how's the gym business? Fine, Chase said quickly. Great, actually. Business is booming. Really? That's funny because I heard you were having some cash flow problems. Something about missing equipment payments? Lauren's face went pale. Monica, maybe you should focus on your own business. Oh, I am. And part of my business is making sure the community knows when someone's been misusing funds meant for public fitness programs. The registration area had gotten very quiet. Other runners were pretending to stretch while obviously listening to every word. I don't know what you're talking about, Lauren said, but her voice was shaky. I'm talking about the $15,000 you've diverted from community center programs to prop up your boyfriend's failing business. I'm talking about the forged signatures and the fraudulent loan applications. Should I keep going? Chase grabbed Lauren's arm. We don't have to listen to this. Actually, you do, I said, because in about an hour, when this race is over, everyone in this town is going to know exactly what kind of people you are. You're bluffing, Lauren said, but she didn't sound convinced. I pulled out my phone and showed her a photo of one page from her notebook. Am I? The color drained completely from her face. Where did you get that? From your jewelry box, right next to the necklace I bought you for our anniversary last year. The one you sold to pay Chase's rent. Chase looked from the phone to Lauren and back again. What is he talking about? What notebook? Nothing, Lauren said quickly. He's lying. Am I? I swiped to another photo. Because I have documentation of every transaction, every forged signature, every fraudulent transfer. All in your handwriting. The crowd around us had grown larger. I could see Mrs. Henderson with her phone out, probably live streaming the whole thing to her Facebook page. Perfect. Lauren, Chase said slowly, what did you do? I helped you. I saved your business. With stolen money? It wasn't stolen. It was my money too. Actually, I said, it was community center money, and my money, and the bank's money, since you forged loan applications in my name. Chase stepped away from Lauren like she was radioactive. I didn't know anything about this. Of course you didn't, Monica said sarcastically. You just thought your girlfriend was independently wealthy. Runners, please report to the starting line, came the announcement over the loudspeaker. Well, I said, this has been fun, but I have a race to run. Lauren, we'll finish this conversation at home. Oh, wait, you might want to find somewhere else to stay tonight. I changed the locks. You can't do that. I can when my wife has been committing fraud using my name. Carla Voss explained the legalities to me yesterday. Fascinating stuff. Lauren's mouth fell open. You hired Carla Voss. Best divorce attorney in the state. She's very thorough. I started walking toward the starting line, but Lauren grabbed my arm. Eli, wait. We can work this out. It doesn't have to be like this. I looked down at her hand on my arm, then back up at her face. For just a moment, I saw a flicker of the woman I'd married, but it was too little, too late. You're right, I said. It doesn't have to be like this. You could have just asked for a divorce instead of stealing from me and humiliating me in front of the entire town, but you didn't, so now we do this the hard way. I pulled my arm free and walked to the starting line, where Monica was waiting for me. You ready for this? She asked. More ready than I've ever been for anything. The starting gun fired and we were off. I'd been training with Monica for weeks, but I'd never run a 5K before. The first mile was harder than I expected, but I found my rhythm and settled in. Monica stayed beside me, offering encouragement and pacing advice. How are you feeling? She asked as we hit the 2-mile mark. Like I could run forever. And I meant it. Every step felt like I was running away from the last 8 years of my life. Away from the woman who'd called me too fat to be seen with. away from the humiliation and the lies and the slow erosion of my self-respect. We rounded the final corner with the finish line in sight. The crowd was cheering, and I could see the local newspaper photographer taking pictures. As we crossed the finish line, Monica grabbed my hand and raised it in the air like I'd just won the Olympics. "How do you feel?" she shouted over the noise of the crowd. "Like a winner," I shouted back. And for the first time in months, I actually meant it. Later, as we were stretching and cooling down, I saw Lauren and Chase arguing by their car. She was gesticulating wildly while he shook his head and backed away from her. Finally, he got in his Jeep and drove off, leaving her standing alone in the parking lot. She looked around desperately, probably looking for a ride home. When she spotted me, she started walking over. "Don't," Monica said quietly. "It's okay." "Let her come." Lauren approached slowly, like she was walking through a minefield. "Eli, can we talk? Privately? Anything you want to say to me, you can say in front of Monica. This is between us." "No, Lauren. Nothing is between us anymore. You made sure of that when you decided to steal my money to support your boyfriend. I never meant for it to go this far." "What did you mean for it to do? Did you think I'd never find out? Did you think I was too stupid to notice?" She started crying then, the kind of dramatic tears that had always worked on me before. But I felt nothing. No sympathy, no urge to comfort her, nothing. "I'm sorry," she sobbed. "I'm so sorry. I made a mistake. You made a lot of mistakes. And now you get to live with the consequences. What does that mean? It means Carla Voss will be in touch with you about the divorce proceedings. It means the community center is pressing charges for the embezzled funds. And it means everyone in this town now knows exactly what kind of person you are." I stood up and started walking toward my truck. Monica fell into step beside me. "Eli, please," Lauren called after us. "Don't do this." I stopped and turned back to her one last time. "You know what, Lauren? You were right about one thing. I was too fat to work out with you. But it turns out I was just heavy enough to crush your entire world when I put my mind to it." As we drove away, I could see her in the rearview mirror, still standing in the parking lot, still crying. But I didn't feel sorry for her. Not anymore. The next morning, I woke up in my own bed for the first time in weeks without the knot of anxiety in my stomach. Lauren had spent the night at her sister's house. I knew because Ricky had followed her there and sent me updates. Old habits from his cop days. I was making coffee when my phone rang. Carla Voss. "Good morning, Eli. I trust you slept well?" "Better than I have in months. What's the word?" "Well, your wife's attorney called me at 7 this morning. Apparently, Lauren wants to settle quickly and quietly." "What kind of settlement?" "The kind where she gives you everything you want in exchange for you not pressing criminal charges. She's scared, Eli. Really scared." "She should be." "What about Chase?" "That's where it gets interesting. Turns out Mr. Morgan has been running quite the operation. The financial records you helped us uncover led to some very interesting discoveries." I sat down at my kitchen table. "Such as?" "Such as the fact that your wife wasn't his only investor. He's been running the same scam on at least 3 other married women in town, taking money, making promises, providing certain services in return." Jesus. It gets better. The state licensing board is investigating his certifications, the IRS is looking into his tax returns, and the bank is calling in his loans. Your wife picked a real winner. I couldn't help but smile. "So what happens now?" "Now you get to decide how merciful you want to be." I thought about that for a moment. About Lauren calling me too fat to be seen with. About the months of lies and manipulation. About finding another man's gym bag in my house. I don't feel particularly merciful today. Good. Neither do I. After I hung up with Carla, I drove to the community center for my regular workout with Monica. But when I got there, I found a crowd gathered in the parking lot. Monica was standing near the entrance, talking to what looked like a reporter. "What's going on?" I asked. "Channel 8 wants to do a story about the embezzlement scandal. Apparently someone leaked the story to them." "Someone?" Monica grinned. "Someone who might have sent them copies of certain financial records and photographs." The reporter, a young woman with perfectly styled hair and a microphone, approached us. "Excuse me, are you Eli Sanderson?" "Depends on who's asking." I'm Jessica Chen from Channel 8 News. We're doing a story about the fitness program fraud at the community center. Would you be willing to comment? I looked at Monica, who nodded encouragingly. Sure. What do you want to know? Is it true that your wife embezzled money from community programs to support her boyfriend's business? It's true that my wife diverted funds without authorization. It's true that she forged my signature on loan documents. And it's true that she did all of this to support a man she was having an affair with. Whether you call that embezzlement or fraud or just plain theft, I'll leave up to the lawyers. How did you discover what was happening? My wife told me I was too fat to work out with her. So I started working out somewhere else with someone who actually cared about helping people get fit instead of just taking their money. I put my arm around Monica's shoulders. Monica Reeves has been running honest fitness programs in this community for years. She's helped dozens of people achieve their goals without stealing from them or lying to them. The contrast was pretty obvious. What's your message to other people who might be in similar situations? I thought about that for a moment. I guess my message is that you don't have to accept being treated badly. You don't have to put up with lies and manipulation and abuse. And sometimes the best revenge is just telling the truth and letting other people draw their own conclusions. The interview lasted about 10 minutes, and I could see Monica beaming with pride the whole time. When the reporter left, she gave me a hug. That was perfect, she said. You came across as reasonable and sympathetic while making Lauren and Chase look like the criminals they are. Think it'll make a difference? Oh, it'll make a difference. By tonight, everyone in 3 counties will know their names. She was right. The story aired on the evening news, and by the next morning, it had been picked up by social media. Lauren's fitness Instagram account, which had thousands of followers, was flooded with angry comments. Chase's gym was getting 1-star reviews faster than he could delete them. But the real satisfaction came 2 days later, when Ricky called me with an update. You're not going to believe this, he said. Chase's landlord evicted him from the gym space. Apparently, he's been behind on rent for months, and the news story was the last straw. What about Lauren? She's staying with her sister, but that's not going well either. Word is her sister's husband isn't happy about harboring a fugitive from justice. She's not exactly a fugitive. Tell that to the community center board. They voted unanimously to press charges and ban her from all programs permanently. I felt a surge of satisfaction. What else? The best part? Chase tried to throw her under the bus. Told the police she was the mastermind and he was just an innocent victim. Even gave them evidence of her financial transfers. Honor among thieves. Gets better. Lauren found out he was trying to pin everything on her, so she gave the police evidence of his other scams. Turns out he's been running this same game on women all over New England. I sat back in my chair, processing this information. Lauren and Chase, who had been so united in their betrayal of me, were now destroying each other to save themselves. Ricky, remind me never to get on your bad side. Hey, you did all the hard work. I just helped connect the dots. That evening, I was at home, finally relaxing for the first time in months, when there was a knock at my door. I opened it to find Lauren standing on my porch, looking like she hadn't slept in days. Eli, please. I need to talk to you. We have nothing to talk about. Everything goes through the lawyers now. 5 minutes, please. Against my better judgment, I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. I wasn't letting her back in my house. What do you want, Lauren? I want to explain. I want you to understand why I did what I did. I understand perfectly. You wanted someone else, and you were too cowardly to ask for a divorce, so you decided to steal from me instead. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? She took a shaky breath. I felt trapped, like my life was over, like I was just going to be stuck in this house, in this marriage, forever. So you decided to destroy both of our lives, instead of just asking for what you wanted. I thought if I could help Chase get his business going, we could be together, and I could have the life I wanted. Using my money. It was going to be temporary. I was going to pay it all back. I stared at her for a long moment. Even now, even after everything that had happened, she still didn't get it. Lauren, do you know what the worst part of all this is? She shook her head. The worst part is that if you had just come to me and said you wanted a divorce, I would have given you one. We could have split everything fairly, gone our separate ways, and both been happy. But instead, you chose to lie and steal and cheat. You chose to humiliate me in front of the entire town. You chose to make me feel like I wasn't worth basic human decency. I'm sorry. No, you're not. You're sorry you got caught. You're sorry your plan didn't work. But you're not sorry for what you did to me. I turned to go back inside, but she grabbed my arm. Eli, wait. What if I made it right? What if I paid back every penny? With what money? Your boyfriend's broke, and you're about to be criminally charged. We could work something out. We could nothing. I pulled my arm free. Lauren, it's over. It's been over since the moment you decided I wasn't worth your respect. The only difference is that now it's official. I went back inside and closed the door. Through the window, I watched her stand on my porch for another 5 minutes before finally walking back to her car. As she drove away, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, complete and total peace. 3 months later, I was at Monica's community center, helping her set up for the Winter Fitness Challenge kickoff. It had become a monthly tradition, me helping with her events, her helping me rebuild my life. We'd grown closer over the months, but we were taking things slow. Both of us had been burned by people we'd trusted. Hand me that banner, Monica said from the top of a stepladder. I passed up the New Year, New You banner and watched her hang it carefully. She'd been working extra hours to rebuild the community center's programs after the embezzlement scandal, and her dedication was paying off. Enrollment was higher than it had ever been. You know, I said, 6 months ago, I never would have imagined I'd be here. Here helping me hang banners, or here in general. Here happy. Here looking forward to things instead of dreading them. Monica climbed down and gave me a quick kiss on the cheek. You deserve to be happy, Eli. You always did. My phone buzzed with a text from Ricky. Turn on Channel 8. You're going to want to see this. I pulled out my phone and opened the Channel 8 live stream. The reporter was standing outside the county courthouse. In a surprising development, Chase Morgan has been sentenced to 18 months in federal prison for wire fraud and tax evasion. Morgan, who ran a fitness center in Millbrook, was found guilty of defrauding multiple investors and filing false tax returns. Monica looked over my shoulder at the screen. 18 months? That's more than I expected. The reporter continued. Morgan's co-conspirator, Lauren Sanderson, received a suspended sentence and 3 years of probation in exchange for her cooperation with federal investigators. She will also be required to pay full restitution to all victims. I turned off the phone. It was over. Really, finally over. How do you feel? Monica asked. Relieved. And a little sorry for her. Sorry? She threw away everything for someone who sold her out the minute things got tough. That's got to hurt. Monica nodded. Some people have to learn the hard way that actions have consequences. Speaking of consequences, I said, I have some good news. Oh. The insurance settlement came through. $25,000 for the fraudulent use of my credit. Monica's eyes widened. What are you going to do with it? I grinned. I was thinking about making a donation to the community center. Maybe fund a scholarship program for people who can't afford fitness classes. Eli, that's incredibly generous, but you don't have to. I want to. This place saved my life. You saved my life. It seems like the right thing to do. Monica threw her arms around me, and for a moment, we just stood there in the empty gymnasium, holding each other. You know what the best part is? She said. What? Lauren always said you were too fat to work out with her, but look at you now. I looked down at myself. I'd lost 30 pounds over the past 6 months, but more importantly, I'd gained something I'd lost years ago, self-respect. You know what? I said. She was right. I was too fat to work out with her. Monica looked confused. What do you mean? I was carrying too much dead weight, her lies, her manipulation, her contempt. Once I dropped all that, I got in the best shape of my life. Monica laughed. That's terrible, but accurate. We finished setting up for the event, and as the first participants started arriving, I felt a deep sense of satisfaction. These were real people with real goals, working with someone who genuinely cared about helping them succeed. No lies, no scams, no hidden agendas. Just honest work and honest results. As I watched Monica welcome each person individually, remembering their names and their goals, I realized something. I hadn't just escaped a bad marriage. I'd found something better than I'd ever had before. Eli, Monica called out, can you help Mrs. Patterson with the resistance bands? On my way. As I walked over to help, I caught my reflection in the gymnasium mirror. The man looking back at me was someone I barely recognized from 6 months ago. Leaner, stronger, but most importantly, happier. Lauren had been right about one thing. I had needed to transform. But the transformation hadn't been about losing weight or building muscle. It had been about finding the courage to demand better for myself. And in the end, that had made all the difference. Later that evening, Monica and I were cleaning up after the event when she brought up something that had been on both our minds. "I heard Lauren's been asking around about you," she said carefully. "What kind of asking around?" "The kind where she wants to know if you're seeing anyone, if you're happy, if you ever mention her." I thought about that while I folded up the last of the exercise mats. "What did you tell whoever told you that?" "I told them it wasn't any of my business what Lauren Sanderson wanted to know about anything." "Good answer." "But Eli, if she tries to contact you..." "She won't. And if she does, I'll handle it." But Monica's warning proved prophetic. 2 days later, I found Lauren waiting by my truck when I left work. "Hello, Eli." She looked different, older somehow. The perfectly styled hair was gone, replaced by a simple ponytail. The expensive workout clothes had been replaced by jeans and a sweater that had seen better days. Prison might have been suspended, but the consequences were real. "Lauren, what do you want?" I wanted to apologize, really apologize, not just say I'm sorry because I got caught. I leaned against my truck and waited. "I know I hurt you. I know I betrayed your trust and humiliated you and made you feel like you weren't good enough. And I know saying I'm sorry doesn't fix any of that. No, it doesn't. But I needed you to know that I realize now how wrong I was. About everything. About you, about Chase, about what I thought I wanted." "What do you want from me, Lauren?" "Forgiveness? Closure? A second chance?" She was quiet for a long moment. "I guess I want you to know that losing you was the biggest mistake of my life." "You didn't lose me," I said quietly. "You threw me away. There's a difference." "I know." "Do you?" "Because for months, you made me feel like I wasn't worth your time or attention or basic respect. You made me believe I was lucky to have you, when the truth was the exact opposite." "I know." "And now that your life has fallen apart, now that Chase is in prison and your reputation is destroyed and you're facing financial ruin, suddenly you realize I wasn't so bad after all." She started crying then, but they weren't the manipulative tears from before. These seemed real. "I'm not asking for anything," she said. "I just wanted you to know that I know how badly I screwed up." I looked at this woman I'd been married to for 8 years, this woman who'd shared my bed and my dreams and my bank account, and I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, no lingering love, just a distant kind of pity. "Lauren, I hope you figure out how to be happy. I really do. But it's not going to be with me, and it's not going to involve me in any way. I understand." "Do you?" "Because this is the last conversation we're ever going to have. After today, if you need something from me, you go through the lawyers. If you see me in public, you pretend you don't know me. If someone asks you about me, you say nothing. We're done. Completely, permanently, finally done." She nodded, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. "For what it's worth," she said, "Monica's lucky to have you." I didn't ask how she knew about Monica. In a town this size, everyone knew everything eventually. "Yes," I said, "she is." Lauren walked back to her car, not the BMW which had been repossessed, but an old Honda that had seen better days. As she drove away, I felt the last piece of my old life finally fall into place. I pulled out my phone and texted Monica, "Dinner tonight? I have something to celebrate." She texted back immediately, "Everything okay?" "Everything's perfect. I'll explain when I see you." As I drove home through the streets of Millbrook, past the community center where I'd rebuilt my life, past the courthouse where justice had been served, past the empty building that used to house Iron Core Fitness, I realized something profound. Revenge wasn't about destroying your enemies. It was about building something better than what they'd tried to take from you. And I'd built something pretty damn good.